What's up, Blueprint family? How y'all doing out there? We have a wonderful show again for you all tonight. And the topic for tonight is the scariest part of a relationship and how to get
Ooh,
through it.
can you guess what that is? I think there's a lot of things that when it starts off a relationship, it can be anxiety inducing, possibly. And of course, as you go through life with a spouse, it's some scary things. But what we're talking about in particular is the very beginning of the relationship and how defining the relationship can be one of the scariest things that a couple will end up doing. And, it really comes into the point where a person in particular is with somebody and dating this person and thinking, are we exclusive or are we just dating? Are we friends with benefits? How do you have this conversation, right? What do you do? How do you go about figuring out and defining your relationship so that you can really establish boundaries and create goals? And a lot of different reasons why you want to define a relationship.
Right, yeah. And you should know these things um, between, I would say, 2 to 3 months after dealing with the person that you were speaking with or having a relationship with. 2 to 3 months is a solid amount of time to figure out what are you doing
Yeah.
with this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What are you all striving towards? Are you all dating with the intention of getting married? 2 to 3 months. I think that if you're dating anyway, you should intend on marrying the person that you're dating.
Hmm.
Um,
That should be
you
definitely
know,
a goal for
right?
sure. Hmm.
This
Hopefully.
people have all these relationships, without the intention of getting married. But
Right.
um, we can dive closer into what it takes and what it looks like in order to establish
Yeah.
the relationship and trying to get through to the other person on understanding. So, what are we doing here
Yeah.
in this relationship?
Yeah. Because defining a relationship is really about establishing your needs, your desires, the boundaries, your expectations, and that's super important, like you said, so you can be on one accord and have a goal that you're working towards. And even so that you can decide, hey, are we just going to continue dating casually? Or are we actually going to keep, moving? Or, you can get yourself out of a bad situation, or not so much a bad situation, but a situation that's not in alignment with you, because if you're wanting to be with somebody who wants to be monogamous, but you're dating somebody who isn't, then hey, you're gonna fall into some difficulties.
Right? Because I don't know why are people dating now? What is the contributing factor to why you all are dating? Is it just sex? Is it money? Is it
Yeah.
convenience? Is it for shelter?
Mm-hmm.
Like from all of the information that we now know and
Mm-hmm.
what we've been providing to people, what are you all's thoughts as far as um, dating and wanting to get out there and meet, the opposite sex?
Yeah, and that's
Or
really why I called it the scariest part, because I think people are afraid of that. Like they don't know what the.
yeah, but what's so scary about dating with intention? Or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
Men, we
sure.
fear rejection. But to be honest with you, we shouldn't have to fear that rejection
Mm-hmm.
because men choose marriage. We do. We are the gatekeepers for marriage. Case in point, women normally do not go to a jewelry store to buy an engagement ring for a man. And women traditionally do not do that,
Nah, yeah.
even to this day. Even modern women don't do that.
Right.
um you know Regardless of how alpha like their personalities are,
Yeah.
men are still putting rings on fingers out here.
Mhm.
Case in point, the guy that was at the baseball game who jumped over the fence to propose to his wife, who got sidelined by the security guard and ran over. he was putting out his testament to the world that he loves this woman and wants to put a ring on her finger.
He was
And he
gonna
did
risk
that.
going to jail.
You're right. He committed a misdemeanor and everything, trespassed, and was live on TV proposing to his wife. And
Love.
she did say yes, but the thing is this.
That's love, right? That's
Right.
cute.
The thing is this. That is that's the main thing, is that men shouldn't be fearful as far as being in relationships. Like I said, the man ultimately is the gatekeeper for marriage.
Yeah.
Now, women, on the other hand, I can understand where the anxieties lie, especially dealing with a man who they see that is very, very attractive. All of those things that we talked about in the last video, all of those tips and topics that we talked about in the last video, a man who is a provider male and a protector. If you're dating someone like this, I can see where that anxiety has come from. Now, the thing is
Who
that
isn't one? Yeah.
right.
If he isn't one, yeah.
No, I'm talking about to the women. I'm talking to the women out there. If they're dealing with a man, if they're dealing with a man who is top tier, he's a handsome man, got money, but he's not yet choosing them for a relationship.
Oh, that shouldn't give
marriage.
you no anxiety. To me, I don't even think that should give you anxiety.
Right,
That means
but what are you women doing to get this man to commit?
Yeah.
To you all.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because the best woman is going to win that man's hand.
Yeah.
In marriage.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you. Now, be mindful that it takes a woman who understands wife qualities in order to be a wife.
Yeah.
That is what that man is looking for, is a woman to be his wife. Do you all understand what that means? And what it takes to be a wife now in these times. And if you all don't, please, by all means, check out wifeconomics.com and take the course. Take the courses to see and be familiar, because what you don't want to do is have someone steal that man away from you because you didn't understand what qualities it took to be a wife. That is what's giving you anxiety, is not knowing or understanding what a man needs in a wife.
Yeah, I think also too. For sure, for the women that don't know what to do, because it shouldn't give you anxiety.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
A woman should be very much comfortable and ready to
and confident in her
show,
femininity.
and ready to show her worth as a wife. I think that is definitely something that a woman needs to have confidence in, and if you don't, for sure, make sure you get that. Yeah, you gain the knowledge and the skills and alignment so that you can be confident.
Right.
But I do, if more than anything, I think men are anxious and fearful of commitment and defining a relationship now more than ever, because of not being one in the position, much like you were saying for the woman, not being in the position to be a provider male, and then two, maybe once they're in that, not knowing, if the woman is going to be a good wife for a lifetime to them. I think that causes a lot of anxiety, because for men in particular, the laws aren't really set up in their favor as much as it is a woman. So a woman can go into it, and if a man proposes to her or whatever, then she, her cards are a little more in her favor of trying to help her out, but they don't really try to help the men out, and he's suffering through the divorce just as much.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why the man has to. His best defense is a prenuptial agreement. If a woman is serious about dating this man, then she would sign that prenuptial agreement.
Yeah.
In order to raise a family, because you're both protecting your own assets, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
But that is what protects men in today's time. So there are laws set up to protect men. But first you have to practice risk management and not go out here and have all these children with different women, or have unprotected sex with someone that you can't see yourself marrying, or haven't intentionally date date the woman and with the mindset of marriage.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
but by all means,
I
but
think that's where the anxiety may come too, just for defining a relationship. If we kind of get back on topic a bit, like defining the relationship that's what makes it scary. Like a lot of people are so comfortable not putting labels on it because then it's less pressure in a way. It gives them, I guess, the freedom to kind of do their own thing and not so
yeah,
much.
that's a very young and immature thing to do.
Yeah,
To be
definitely.
honest with you.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to help you guys get through it with some great tips on, how the steps that needs to be taken on both mainly your part on how to initiate the conversation if this is something you're struggling with, trying to define your relationship, whether you're a male or female. It's very important. Women, if you are dating a guy and you're trying to figure out, especially like my husband said, 2 to 3 months, your worth as a wife and a woman. And that a man should know within 2 to 3 months if he is seriously going to take you even more serious, right? And really consider this being something long term. So definitely have in your mind how you're going to have this conversation and approach this conversation with him if these conversations have not already taken place. Because you don't want to waste your time. That's the number one thing for a woman who is looking to be a wife. You don't waste your time. Certainly on men who have no intentions of wifing you, but also for yourself. Don't waste time just being with somebody and killing off all the time, like in the world, to go off and actually be with somebody who is going to make this into something long term. It's just really a waste. So yeah, how to have the conversation as a woman and a men too. But like you said, men, I think it's much easier because you control the relationship. So it's easier to come in and, talk about it. But even for those who are scared and don't really know how to approach asking a girl out, let's go through it.
Right. Yeah, by all means, you need to know exactly where the intentions are, at least 2 to 3 months of talking to someone, especially if you want to be with this person and you all are dating with the intention. You need to date with the intention on getting married, not date on the intention of sleeping with someone.
Yep.
If you find yourself in that position, analyze yourself and see how you feel as far as your feelings, and see whether or not you want to continue dealing with that situation. But you need to be searching for commitment.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
But that's actually the first step of, in general, having that conversation. You have that conversation with yourself first.
Right.
Assess the relationship from within and see, how happy you are. If this is something that you're interested in keeping doing, is it providing you some type of fulfillment? Do you see any, like what's the word I'm looking for? Any, not prospect, but any, I guess that's the word. Any, do you, but brain freeze, I'm tired, y'all. But do you see like this, any future in this? Is it going to go any further, or is it just, fly by night, sleep with somebody and go about your way? So really assess the situation on how you feel in the relationship, and is this giving you anxiety? Is this making you anxious, trying to figure out, what are we doing? Are we official? Is this guy talking to other people? Like, is it just me? These things can make you really nervous. So if it is making you nervous, really figure out, hey, is this guy on one accord with me? And is this something that I need to have a conversation with? Because usually that's the reason why you're looking to have this conversation. If you have naturally not already reached the point where you guys are taking those steps and saying, hey, I'm looking for something a little serious. Let's see what this can look like. What do you like about marriage? We go through all the great questions that you ask to see if your visions for life align up. So if y'all haven't had any conversations like that, then it's definitely time to sit back and think, is this person even looking for what I'm looking for?
Right. And there are significant signs that you will see.
Yeah.
If that person is intentionally wanting to be in a relationship with you. If they're spending a lot of times with you, they are themselves enjoying the conversations that you all are having, asking you out on dates, multiple dates. They're all about you. People that are not ghosting you, people who are not trying to it's a one-sided benefit situation to where they're always asking you for money.
Yeah.
They don't have you on a schedule, meaning that they're not calling you at 10 o'clock at night wanting to see you only at nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Those things. Don't ignore those red flags. And a lot of
Mhm.
people ignore those red flags because they are lonely and they don't want to be honest with themselves
Mhm.
because they're enjoying those particular times when someone comes visit them and check on them.
The bare minimum.
Right. They settle for the bottom portion of a relationship.
Yeah.
And more than likely, if someone is doing this to you, you're not the only person they're doing this with.
No.
So value yourself more than this. And you need to act quickly and go on and try to find someone who will value your time and it's reciprocated, and they value your time as well.
Yep. And that actually brings us to the next step, right? So defining what you want, right? So what does a relationship for you look like? One that you would ideally desire and want to have. So is this the casual fly by night, dating? If that is what you're looking for, then great. Establish that, have that conversation, say, hey, this is what we're doing, and let that be that. But if it's not, if you're looking for something monogamous, let that be known too. Or maybe you're looking for something, what's the term? Ethical non-monogamy. Can you believe that's a term? I actually was trying to figure out what, for those who are trying to define relationships that aren't your typical monogamous relationships, what do you call them? So it's an umbrella term, which is ethical non-monogamy. So basically, it's a umbrella term of any relationship where a person can have multiple romantic and sexual partners. So that includes, polygamy and open relationships, relationship anarchy. That's interesting label of that, and many other types of relationships between two people. So that is something that you also need to figure out. Step 2, defining what you want and what you're looking for.
Ethical non-monogamy.
Yeah.
That's a righteous 304. That's you're living by the by the morals and ethics of the right of other people, and
to do what they want. Yeah, I guess.
You're completely honest, and you're loyal to no one, but you're loyal to no one, but you're completely honest, and everyone is happy. That's crazy.
I don't know. Is everyone happy? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, if you would agree, that's why defining a relationship matters, right? You don't want to be a monogamous person in a relationship with an ethical non-monogamous person who, that's not, you're not going to be happy because you're going to think that person is cheating, and they're in their mind thinking, I'm not cheating
because I told you that I'm messing with other women.
I want an open relationship or whatever. That, or even y'all didn't have that conversation. Y'all are just sleeping with each other. So
yeah, that's how it happens. You just end up sleeping with each other, and then how it happens is like this. You tell, especially for men will tell women, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I'm out here focused on myself.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy my time that I spend with you, and I appreciate you and I respect you, but it's pretty much I'm not looking for anyone or anything.
Yeah.
And then the girl said, okay.
And then they say
it. And this goes on and on and on. And then one day the girl thinks, so what are we? And then that's how you get to this, what we're talking about. That's the background. This is how we get to.
Well, that's a bad one because in the sense of the girl had that conversation in the beginning with him when he said his intentions of, I don't intend to be monogamous.
Right.
So.
But that's how it happens. The man would tell the girl,
it's a red flag.
Look, we're not doing nothing,
Yeah.
But the girl says, okay, because then she ain't hearing that. I don't want to hear that. You mind.
Yeah.
And then you see him going all out of here. Right.
And I can change that. You only
see him
me.
out and about with somebody else, and then your feelings are hurt. But he told you straight up. Yeah. You see this a lot on college campuses. You see it a lot, college campuses, small town cities, things like that. Take heed to that. Don't make yourself a fool for anybody. Pay attention to these things. If the guy is telling you that he's in an open relationship with you, he don't want to be with you, that's completely it. He's not saying, well, we're going to hold this off and save this for marriage. More than likely, he's not going to marry you, to be honest with you.
Because he already said he wasn't, or at least he wasn't thinking about it.
Right. and then he's probably dating somebody else that he probably wouldn't marry. But the bottom line is this: you're the side chick, and this guy is a side dude because he's going around sleeping with all these women.
Yeah.
That is up to you if you want to be a side chick or a side dude. That's what
Yeah.
ethical non-monogamy really is.
Or a situationship that falls under that. Well, they
Same
say
thing: side chick, side dude.
yeah.
That's what
Because
that
they
is.
say situationships can often happen because two people aren't on the same page about what it is they're doing. So they
Facts.
have their whole situationship.
Right.
It's just something that, maybe friends with benefits
Casual
turn into that.
sex.
Yeah. Yep.
Committed relation, non-committed relationship.
Yeah. So assessing what it is you want, maybe sit down and writing ideally what you would want your husband to have value wise, moral wise, ethic wise, principle wise, all of that.
Is
If it
that what
lines up
people?
with yours.
Those can't be the first intentions of women in these times.
What?
How many women wake up, or and say that I just want to be in a open relationship?
Believe it
Who
or
starts that
not.
way?
Yeah,
A lot
who
of women
start
start
that
that
way?
way.
No, I don't know. That's a
Right, that's what
good.
I'm saying.
Yeah, if you change it to start that way, but now it seems like more than ever, it's women agreeing to be non-monogamous, and then in fact, it's a lot of people shouting through the rooftops that just because the human species is animalistic, that they're not capable of monogamy.
Right.
I think that's such a limited mindset, but hey, I
I mean,
mean,
a lot of animals are monogamous.
yeah, but if humans are very much
Birds.
capable of doing anything we want to do. Man declares he wants food and man finds a way to get food. If a man declares he wants to be monogamous and be with this one woman, he's going to find a way to be monogamous and be with this one woman. It's just simple as that. It's really just thought and choice. So I don't know if a person has decided that, hey, they want to do the polygamy thing, have multiple, partners, sure. Yeah,
There's
if that's
multiple
what
reasons for that.
if that's what they choose to do, have that discussion. Maybe this is something you want to, you know, assess for yourself if that's something you want.
Right.
If that is, really look at what that looks like and if you're ready to really sign up for that too, because I don't know, I think that's difficult.
But you need to also to assess your feelings and how you ultimately feels about someone else occupying your man's time
and body
and finances and money. And then also to think about children.
Yeah.
How are you going to explain this to your children when you're a sister wife? And I don't know, we're going off tangent. Well, not really. It's on
yeah,
topic,
because
but
it's
yeah,
just about
how do you all
defining it.
explain that? I'm just curious. I'm not against it. I'm for free will. You all can do whatever you all want to do. But the thing is that how do you all explain that to your children in a polygamous relationship? I was just curious. And what does that,
maybe that they don't need commitment to just one person, or maybe that daddy decided to, I mean, because I don't know, if you think of like the wealthy farmers in like Africa or whatever, in other countries, and how they can afford to have multiple wives and such because it's a more of a business exchange in the sense of all the wives work together, all the kids work together.
You see the dynamic and the reasoning and the cause of all of that.
Yeah,
here
but
in
that's
America,
why, yeah.
Here in America, but usually there's a need other than relationship, and that's called business, a family business. Originally, family business, you're talking about farming, and they need multiple employees, which are their children, and wives. That is what ultimately brings wealth into those family is food, because if they don't make food, they don't have any money and they don't eat. So survival is the ultimate mechanism from that, and that's what I've learned. Is that polygamous relationships happen because there's a need for survival, and the people who are in those relationships realize that they cannot survive unless they have other partners in the relationship that can help bring in income, and is not working between two people. That's what that means. Ultimately, that's what that means. And that's what's going on as far as that. those polygamous relationships. But I was just asking, like, how do you explain that to your
Yeah.
children when you have those children in that relationship?
Yeah.
It was just a curiosity thing because I
Yeah.
was just trying to understand.
And you got to express if that is, like I said, if that's something you want to do, assess it and figure it out. If not, then hey, have that conversation with yourself so that then you can go to the next phase. And that is preparing yourself for what they might say and how they're going to react. I think that's important to do maybe even before you figured out exactly what you're going to say. And I think that's kind of why I put it in this order, because it's so important that you're prepared if that person says, hey, I don't want what you want. Or if you have been missing out on those red flags and you need that final verification that, hey, I need to move forward. Or, maybe they do tell you what you want to hear. And then even more, they're actually trying to move along the relationship faster than maybe you might be ready for. So really taking in consideration what is going to happen based off of the answer that you get and how you're going to react to it.
Right. And you should know, yeah, make sure you do this within 2 to 3 months of
Yeah.
being in a relationship with somebody, so that you're not wasting your time. Because that preparation part, if you do not know the answer to your relationship in 2 to 3 months time, be very prepared on exiting that situation if that answer is not aligned with your actions
Yeah.
and your intentions.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than you waiting on someone for years and years and years, and they're not showing any signs of commitment, and you are doing everything to ignore those signs that this person is not being committed to you. You're trying to fight this person and make them submit into a relationship. Men do this a lot because we've invested time and money into a female,
Yeah.
and hoping that we can get them to submit into a relationship.
Right.
That is not the way to go. So
Yeah.
if you are finding yourself in this type of situation with women, walk away from those women, because ultimately what happens is more toxicity in that situation, and that's what you're trying to prevent yourself from. Women the same way. If you are dealing with a man and he's not showing any signs of commitment between 2 to 3 months, you need to go ahead and prepare to jump ship and get with someone else whose intentions aligning with yours.
Yeah.
You hear a lot about these people. Like, it reminds me of that divorce court, when the woman said that she was with the guy for 8 years or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Those people who are in those 8-year relationships with no rings on your fingers.
Yeah.
You all invested all that time. It's time for you all to get your time back.
Right.
Or either set that baseline of what you all intend on doing and move forward to go and get married and plan a date. Because if you all have been together for years and you all are not married, what are you all waiting for? And I understand, like, common law marriages and things like that. Okay, that's cool. Just make sure that you all are living together and you all have some sort of living will or some sort of contract to explain what happens in the case of someone being deceased, because that information is very important, and you don't want someone, you don't want all your assets go to the state, because you all didn't properly provide legal information on who's next of kin.
Yeah, or worse, your spouse living in your house, your name was the only thing on the mortgage, and that's that.
Right. And then you up in probate court trying to get your
Figure
house
it out,
back that
right.
you actually live in, but your
but y'all didn't get
right. Husband is deceased.
Yeah, you didn't get married. Marriage is really to protect you as well too. So it's not really something that people need to be afraid of, and really just look at it as a tool to help prepare you and elevate you in status of your relationship as far as mindset, goals, and just operating, how you guys operate within each other. It's like so many things. It's a complete elevation that takes place. So definitely make sure, if like my husband said, those steps are not being taken, you skedaddle on out of there and don't waste any more time, especially if you get that answer, like you come and you the answer you get is, oh, I'm not quite sure,
Right.
I need a little time, I'm not,
Right.
after about I don't care, man or female, after about 2-3 months, this person knows whether or not, hey, I can see myself having a life with you. And if they try to use the excuse of, oh, I'm not financially ready, or, oh, I'm not, prepared in that manner, then they shouldn't be in a relationship or, dating. They need to take that time to do that before you go getting into a relationship, because it's not really fair, especially if the person you're dating is ready to, go ahead and do the things that person needs to do, but they can't because they waiting on you to get your stuff together. You like, that it's not fair. So if that's your issue, definitely consider not being in a relationship until you are ready to get serious and define your relationship and commit. Regardless of finances and all that other stuff, we preach a great deal about how you do need to make sure you have that in check, but don't let that be an excuse to why you're dating somebody, but you're not going to define the relationship because, oh, my finances ain't there. Sounds like a personal problem.
That's selfish.
Yeah.
Because what you did was you got all that you could get out of the person you're dating.
Yeah.
And then you're pretty much leaving them with nothing. And those were all your intentions from the start. Mm-hmm. So that's
that ain't right.
Up.
It ain't right. It is. Shame. Yep. So, be ready to decide if you're going to move forward if your visions are not lining up.
Right.
Definitely. But the next important step will then involve being mindful of the conversation and how you're going to start this conversation. What are you going to say? When are you going to have it? The tone you're going to use. It's a big difference between saying like, we need to talk and I love the way our relationship is going. I would love to see, if we can figure out if this is going to go deeper and turn into something more, loosely way of starting the conversation off. But it's a totally different feeling and vibe and vibration that you get versus the, we need to talk because this ain't working out and I don't know what we doing.
No, I would say go ahead and do that. Contrary, you know why? No, women, rude. Y'all need to say straight up, what are we?
No, don't
just
say that. Don't say that.
No, you know why?
Don't say that.
You know why? Because you're going to get an honest answer. That is the reason why. You're going to get an honest answer. Because if you come to me all soft and stuff, as a man, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to prolong this a little bit longer. Oh, baby, no. we gonna,
that is a shame. That means he's going to use you anyway.
Right, exactly. Because a lot of these guys out here don't have the backbone to say, well, we just friends. And then a lot of the women now in these times don't have the backbone to be like, well, if we just friends, I'm leaving.
Yeah, that is a very valid point, though. If you can be, but still be nice about it. Don't be.
But be stern and forward in your conversation.
I agree, and especially in getting an answer.
Right.
Be very
because that's persistent. What you're trying to do is get a straight up answer out of these guys.
Yeah.
And if it ain't something that you like to hear, ladies, then like I said, men choose relationship. Are you going to sit there and hang around and let him try to figure out which woman that he's going to pick and choose? That's up to you, to be honest with you. That's what you will have to you're going to have to grind through that.
Yeah.
In order to find out whether that man is going to want to be with you.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree there that you do need to be very persistent, very stern, and very diligent in getting the answers that you want. But I am still stuck on approaching it with a mindset of wanting to have an open, fluid conversation, not so much a pressuring conversation. Don't make him feel pressured. Don't make him feel badgered. But yes, certainly make it feel like you're looking for answers. You're not going to let up. If he's giving you the runaround, certainly, ask more questions that are leading into the next step that you definitely got to take if you're trying to define your relationship is asking those open-ended questions. So if, like my husband says, you go in there and he's giving you, the runaround because you went in there and all nice and sweet, certainly ask him, okay, well, you want to see me around more. What are we doing? where else can we go? And what are the next steps? Are we looking for an apartment together? Am I meeting your mama? If we talking 2 to 3 months in, am I meeting your mama? What about your daddy? Like, being open-ended questions that's really going to get him to see, I'm serious about this and I want to answer about this. I'm not going to let up, but I'm open to having a dialogue and a discussion, and it's not too much pressure. I think that pressure might scare him if he going all hard.
But the thing is this. The thing is this: if that man really loves you, he's going to answer that question and try to keep you as long as he can.
So my question for you, and then, is 2 to 3 months too soon for a man to say that he loves you?
No, a man. We're talking about a man, man, not BOY. Okay. So you talk about a man who has his finances together, who's well established. He has his own home that he's taking care of. He has his own car, vehicle, career. That's a man. Not a boy who's out here, flipping burgers and partying on the weekend and goes broke, paycheck to paycheck broke every weekend. Yeah. We're not talking about that. So
yeah, I mean, for sure. And I definitely agree that a man will definitely be decisive in his thoughts. That is a big difference between a boy and a man. He will be decisive. Right. So maybe he does know that he loves you, or have love at least for you within 2 to 3 months. And if that is the case, then yeah, he shouldn't be looking to play games.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
A real man is not going to play games with you. And you will know very early in a relationship whether you are dating with intentions or not. If you even have to question any of this stuff at 2 to 3 months, to be honest with you, then your relationship is illegitimate.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
That's why this can be scary. That's honestly why this can be scary for some people, because they get into these situationships and they don't know what to do. They're like, what are we doing? Or they start off as friends with benefits, and then somebody catches feelings. And
you don't start off. You're not supposed to start off as friends with benefits.
You're right. You're not. But how reality is, a lot of relationships nowadays do start off that way.
Because they're not getting any guidance from anywhere. They're not getting any information from anywhere. The whole point of being in a relationship is marriage. It's not to swindle somebody.
Yeah.
Because those are those type of relationships where people get swindled
or have selfish pleasures.
That's what I'm saying.
Selfish pleasures,
women are being used for sex.
Mm-hmm.
And men are getting over on these women.
And men being used for money.
Yep. Men are being used for money in the exchange for sex.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on. That's what I've experienced, what I saw, from other people.
Yeah.
And things like that. So why, if you have to question any of this stuff, it's scary, but more than likely, the answers too. The answers.
And, hopefully you are getting some good answers. So you're asking these open-ended questions, and hopefully they are saying, hey, I like you. I love your personality. I like where this is going. And maybe, I don't quite know for sure if this is what I want to do, but I want to keep exploring this. And then you guys should come up with the plan of, okay, what are we going to do to deepen our relationship? What are we going to do to make sure that we're taking the steps so that we are following a vision for us to get married, for us to move in, for us to, have all these things take place? What are the steps that we're going to do? Yep. So, also, when you ask these open-ended questions, again, it sets it up so that you're nice and flexible during the conversation. Don't be so rigid. Don't come in with just a one-sided thought of things and how things have to look, or even how you're expecting this person to respond. And, it may not be the exact response that you want, but maybe they are saying, hey, I am interested. I don't know quite how this is going to go, but I'm willing to go there with you. So let's then take these steps to figure out how we can move forward together. That's, I think, the biggest thing. So you want to be really flexible and open to creating a life with somebody, not just having somebody fit into a mold that you've already created.
Right. And then also too, to be honest with you, if you don't get the answer that you're looking for, or what you thought, you're going to go through some sort of emotional situation. Don't draw it into an argument.
Yeah.
Cut your losses. It's okay. Things like this does happen all the time. But what you need to do you need to learn from it and be better about picking your mate, choosing people who actually can provide a better experience for you in the case of dating.
Yeah.
Now you know what the signs to look out for in a relationship that is starting out fresh.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
how to define that, right?
right,
What does it look like when you're actually defining this and having that conversation? What does that feel like? Is your anxiety reducing
right.
because you've had this conversation? Another great tip while having this conversation is to use the I statements, right? So when you're starting off, you say, hey, I like you. I am really interested in you. I like how things feel when I'm with you. When you start your conversations with it really opens the person up to hearing what you have to say, and they're also more receptive to it as well. So they're more so likely to come back and say, hey, I like this, or maybe even I don't like such and such. You want it to be fluid that way. You want that conversation to feel natural so that you're really defining the relationship together, and not so much, again, like we said, just fitting a mold into what you think the relationship should look like. Because that can actually create anxiety within itself. Because, if you already have this idea in your head about what the relationship should look like, what the man should say back to you, or the woman, what she should say back to you, if you already have this all set up and that doesn't happen, oh my gosh, you're going to have so much anxiety, because in your head, you're like, oh no, it's not, right. When in all actuality, it doesn't have to go exactly the way you think, but the conversation can still reduce your anxiety by asking those open-ended questions that help give you the clarity, right? Like, how are we defining this relationship? What are we doing? What are we moving forward, so that we both know, hey, this isn't a big deal. We don't need to be scared about this. We can go forward and release our fears and go into a relationship, commit to each other. That's really what it's all about. Just being comfortable and making each other comfortable to take that leap.
Or either just comfortable to start the question. I mean, start the
conversation.
start the conversation,
Yeah.
dialogue. That's a way to soften it up in the beginning.
Yeah.
As with I statements and saying that I enjoy you and your time, and then you go into, so what are we?
Right.
So that's what we're talking about. The scariest part of relationship is not knowing where you all stand.
We're talking the beginning. Yeah,
which
the
is
very
the
beginning. Yeah.
We're talking 2 to 3 months early in the relationship, where everyone's trying to figure out, wow, we're doing a lot of relationship things together, but what are we taking this? What are we doing with this relationship? Are we dating with the intention to get married?
Yep.
You should know this in 2 to 3 months of dating somebody. If you do not know this by that time, have that conversation.
Yeah.
And see where it goes, because I'm curious, and you will be curious too, as whether the person is going to stay in your life and be committed to you, or either leave.
Right.
Because if there are no signs of wanting to get married after 3 to 2 months, and you all don't know, then more than likely you need to form an exit strategy.
Yeah.
And leave and find someone else who will provide to you and for you what you're looking for in that relationship.
Yeah. And being specific, right? So when you're
Number
having,
7.
those conversations, this goes right into it. Number 7, be specific. So when you're talking about, hey, this is what I am envisioning, right? This is kind of what I'm looking for, a monogamous relationship. Be specific, right? So how are we going to do this? How are we going to take these steps? Are we going to look to move in together within this amount of time frame? When am I meeting your mama? When are we doing this? When are we, not being afraid to having that conversation about, okay, if I feel like things are moving good and, my anxiety is reducing a bit, what's the next thing that we do? Do we go ahead and schedule that time to look at the new apartment, or maybe even getting a dog? Like, who knows? It's a lot of different things that a relationship can agree within a relationship. You can agree on that you will know, hey, these are the steps that we agreed we're going to take within this time frame, so that we're not wasting each other's time and we're both seeing the progress.
Right. Usually people who aren't specific in the relationship are scared.
Yeah.
They're scared of failure.
Yeah.
They're scared of being in the relationship that won't amount to anything. And a lot of times they take their past traumas and then they overlay that into their new relationship. And that's where the fear comes from. So being specific really shows your confidence and your courage in the relationship and where you all stand in that relationship. So you should always be specific in your relationships. But a red flag is if you're dating someone and they're not specific with you when it comes to answering questions,
Vague.
very, yeah, and they're very vague about their answers with you,
Oh, I like you.
you know,
That's
right,
it.
right. Then you need to be wary of that person and what their intentions are with you. So just be mindful of that. Being specific really sets the tone of how far your relationship is going to go and where you all are going in the
Yeah.
future.
And it will alleviate those fears. In
Right.
particular, that's the most important thing. You guys want to be comfortable when you're moving forward, because honestly, you're going to have a lot of other things to worry about within your marriage and your relationship and life in general together. One of the worst things that you also want to be thinking about is what the heck you doing in your relationship, or even if this is a relationship, right? So that's definitely not a good place to be at, for sure. So the last part, of course, is to be prepared to define your relationship continuously, right? So, not just in the beginning, but after you have gone through that beginning. We talked about the stages of the relationship, right? So, after you've gone through the beginning, hormonal, the lots of, butterflies, and yeah, you got all of those hormones, good feelings. So, after you go through that, right, then you head into the next step, and you kind of come down and you're really seeing each other, being able to define, hey, now that the high is gone, am I still in this? Am I actually looking to have more with this person? Am I willing to keep doing the work with this person? That will really help you know, hey, this relationship is progressing, because we're able to keep it going, keep it moving, and keep hitting those targets and those goal points continuously, not just saying, oh, we're in a relationship and then it never goes anywhere and you together 6 years
Right.
with nothing.
Yeah. If you all are married, so you should marry after 1 to 2 years of being together. So if you all are married and you all are still, you still may need to want to define your relationship, because the butterfly effect goes away after 2 years?
No, I thought it said like after 7 months, like 7.
Well, I mean, like the honeymoon phase.
Oh, yeah.
That was like 2 years of the whole relationship. My fault.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that relationship, what happens usually is that you all go through ups and downs of your relationship, and then 5 to 7 years hit where you all hit a crisis situation in your relationship.
Yeah.
And what is a telltale sign that you all going to make it is that if you all keep arguing, but somehow you all can resolve your arguments and you all keep moving forward, and you all are not having the same arguments over and over again.
Yeah.
You all have different arguments about things or different discussions. It don't necessarily have to be arguments, but it can be just different disagreements. And if you all are maturing to handle those arguments and those disagreements to the point of resolving, then you know that you all are compatible. Uncompatible people have issues with communication, and there's a lack of communication in the relationship where they like to withdraw from arguing or trying to resolve conflict. So be mindful of that. And that may be a sign that you're not compatible with someone even after marriage. Now, we're not saying that you need to go out and get a divorce, but what you need to do at that time is go out and seek professional help, such as a marriage counselor, to help you all to get through your issues and your situations. But by all means, that's just a bit of knowledge, dropping some jewels for those married couples that are out there. But those new couples out there, you need to often at times review your relationship and make sure that you all are keeping pace and understanding where you all stand in the relationship. Make sure that you all are on the same page consistently. If you've been together for about a year, go ahead and plan that wedding together and seeing what that looks like. Ultimately, you all will get there because you all are goal setting and planning accordingly through your vision of what marriage looks like.
Yep. So just know when to take the next step. That's really important when it comes to defining your relationship continuously throughout your early stages of relationship, knowing when to take those next steps. That's a big one. So yeah, that should hopefully alleviate some of your fears to where you know the scariest part of a relationship doesn't have to be defining the relationship. It really doesn't. If you just take the time to, hey, assess where your relationship is, what it is that you want from your relationship, how you're going to approach the conversation, and being open and fluid with statements like I statements of love, and I statements of what you see in your vision, asking open-ended questions, and on ways that you can really open up the dialogue and discussion so that you can define what it is you guys are doing. So then that way you don't have any anxiety and you're able to move on to the other beautiful stages of marriage.
All right, most definitely.
Yeah.
If you all it's all for you. If you all have any comments or questions, please go ahead and submit those. You can go to wifeconomics.com/submit a question. And we really appreciate you all coming out, watching our live videos. And until next time, you all have a wonderful night. Peace.